All right, there are close races. Then there are really tight races, like what is going on in the state of Wisconsin right now. The incumbent Democratic Governor Evers is essentially tied with his Republican challenger, Tim Michels. The issues have been dominant in this campaign are education, certainly what has been going on right now on the crime front, but it is first and foremost probably on education that the two have presented their most stark differences. Joining Mr. Michels is that fellow on the right who you know very, very well, I should say. On the left, I apologize, Governor Glenn Youngkin, the Virginia governor who championed big reforms and espousing the interest of parents, and that helped him get elected in a state he wasn't expected to get elected in. Gentlemen, welcome to both of you. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Neil. And I've never been on the left.
Well, there you
Thanks,
are.
Neil. Thanks for having us on.
You're actually, when you're facing your back, you are on the right. But let me ask you, Governor, first to you on this. You are supporting his effort in Wisconsin. It's a close fight. Why are you there?
Well, first of all, Tim's a spectacular candidate. And what we have seen over and over as Democrat leadership in states have so underserved their constituents. Republican governors have done such a better job coming out of the pandemic, faster economic growth, safer communities. And I think Wisconsin deserves a Republican governor, and they deserve Tim Michels, and Tony Evers is going home.
Well, let me ask you about that, Mr. Michels, because, I mean, on education, for example, you support essentially a student/parents Bill of Rights, that oftentimes students are ignored in all of this, and that Governor Evers hasn't done enough. He has said there's more funding that's necessary for schools and maybe getting mental health professionals and all of that. You part company with that. Doesn't go far enough. Could you explain?
Yeah, so education is one of our top priorities, certainly, along with crime, as you just mentioned. What are we going to do in education? We're going to empower parents. I will sign the Parental Bill of Rights. We're going to put parents back in charge of the education for their sons and daughters. Universal school choice takes those tuition dollars with the sons and daughters to the school that they want to go to. Right now, parents show up at a school board meeting. They say, I don't like what you're teaching or how you're teaching. They're given the stiff arm. They're told, we're the educrats. We're smarter than you. We know what we're doing. Parents are going to be back in charge. The educrats need to know that parents and taxpayers are their customers. We are going to do better in Wisconsin, and the rising tide is going to lift all ships.
You know, Mr. Michels, the governor says that the parents' interests are already being addressed. They already have their rights. The interest of their kids are still foremost. Are you saying he's lying?
Yeah, so that is what Governor Evers might be saying. I don't know. I'll tell you, he needs to come out on the campaign trail. I know he's going to start a 10-day tour. It's about time he got out of his basement and met with some voters out there. I've been all over this state, from Superior to Kenosha, La Crosse to Sheboygan. Everywhere I go, parents are very frustrated with what's going on in education. They're very frustrated with what's being taught in their schools. They're very frustrated with the lack of teaching ABCs. We're going to get back to the ABCs and stop the CRT here in Wisconsin.
Now, on crime, which you also point out is a very big issue, and I know, Governor Youngkin has been doing much the same in Virginia to make it a top concern. You would appoint a parole commission head whose goal it is to cut some of these moves to release those from prison early. It's something that you argue that Governor Evers has been doing and has been detrimental and made crime worse. Could you explain that?
Yeah, Neil, let me give you a little background. So 4 years ago, when Governor Evers was campaigning to become governor, he made a campaign pledge to cut in half the prison population here in Wisconsin. He has released over 1,000 convicted felons on early parole. 300 of them convicted murderers. Some of those are cop killers, and most shockingly, 44 child rapists are on the streets of Wisconsin today because he has this goal to cut in half the prison population. There's 21,000 people incarcerated in Wisconsin. 1,000 out. Quick math, he wants to release another 9,000 or 10,000 convicted felons early on the streets of Wisconsin. That is not what people in Wisconsin want. They want their person protected, their families protected, their property protected. I'm going to back the blue, and I'm going to get rid of the catch and release DAs.
Governor Youngkin, the one thing you both have in common as well is you were supported by Donald Trump. You didn't mention it very much, Governor Youngkin. In fact, you handled that very gingerly, and it was to your benefit. Mr. Michels, you've been pretty much the same here. I just wonder, Governor, if you advised him to accept the former president's support, but you don't have to keep pounding it.
Well, let me just back up. In a state like Virginia and in Wisconsin, where you've got to bring lots of people together in order to win. And one of the things we demonstrated is that we could bring together forever Trumpers and never Trumpers and Tea Party members and libertarians and, oh, by the way, lots of independents and lots of Democrats. And this is not about Republicans versus Democrats. This is about shared values to put parents back at the table, not just at the table, but at the head of the table in their kids' lives, and to fund police and back the blue and stop the craziness of catch and release and making sure that when somebody commits a violent crime, they do time. This is to recognize that it's taxpayers' money, not government's money. They have a $5 billion surplus here in Wisconsin. And what Tony Evers wants to do is keep it. And what Tim wants to do is give it back to the people it belongs to. This is a moment for common sense solutions to kitchen table issues, and parties come together. And we have seen the Republican Party come together around candidates across the nation as this red wave that found its headwaters in Virginia last year is spreading across the whole country. And I can't wait to see Tim grab his surfboard and surf right into the governor's mansion in Madison.
So by that, I assume, Mr. Michels, I mean, the Donald Trump backing, he hasn't said anything bad about you. You don't mention or go bragging about the state. I guess it comes up in interviews like this one. But do you, and are you inspired by Governor Youngkin's example there to accept it, but you don't have to keep pounding it?
Yeah, I'll tell you what the biggest story is, Neo. Everywhere I go, I run into guys that are in the union, the trades guys, and they tell me, you know, Tim, I voted Democratic my whole life, but the Democratic Party has left me and my family. I'm voting for you because what I see in you is a guy who wore boots his whole life. 12 years in Army boots on active duty as an Army Ranger. 25 years wearing steel-toe boots, leading the men and women at our construction company. That's what people want. They want somebody who can identify with the hardships that they've been through. They want somebody who's going to stand up for them. I'm going to put more money in people's pockets through massive tax reform. I'm going to make safer communities and neighborhoods, and we're going to have better educational opportunities for every son and daughter in the state of Wisconsin. That's the big story.
So, Mr. Michels, is that one other issue that's coming up in your race, and again, tight as a tick, is this issue whether there should be a total ban on abortions, as seems to be the case that the state is making here. You parted from that somewhat, but I didn't understand where you drew the line. Could you explain?
Well, what I've said is if the legislature puts a bill on my desk with an exception on it for rape and incest, that we're in a representative democracy and the legislature is closest to the people. And I would listen to that. I'm not an authoritarian governor. I'm a common sense guy that listens to the people. So I said I would sign that. But let's talk about abortion in this race. Governor Evers, he's the radical abortionist. He's for abortion up until the moment of birth, and he even vetoed a bill that would allow a doctor to kill an unborn baby right after it's born. That is the radical issue in this campaign on abortion.
Governor, the issue is a big one, Governor Youngkin in Virginia as well. It is a tough one for some Republicans because if you are in a state that's, you know, more purple than it is red or blue, you balance something. How do you balance this issue? Do you think that a total ban is required, or this state-by-state examining just how far that ban goes be weighed?
Well, in Virginia, last November, Virginians elected a pro-life governor. And yet, just 20 months ago, on the floor of our General Assembly, the Democrat leadership was arguing to pass legislation that would enable abortion all the way up through and including birth, paid for with taxpayer money. That is extreme. And Virginians voted to have a pro-life governor. And so we find ourselves at a moment where I have asked, recognizing we're in Virginia, for our leading legislators to come together and find a way to send me a 15-week bill. A bill that recognizes that a baby can feel pain, and I will sign that bill. And I think that's a place Virginia can land.
All right, Governor. Ms. Michael, thank you very, very much.
Hi, everyone. I'm Brian Kilmeade. I want you to do me a favor. I want you to click to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page. This is the only way that I know for sure that you're not going to miss any great commentary, any great news bites, any great interviews coming your way on Fox. You can get it all here on YouTube. So subscribe right now.